Former Florida Senator Bill Nelson is a surrogate for former Vice President Joe Biden. I spoke with him here in Iowa earlier today ahead of the caucuses, and I started by asking him why he thinks Joe Biden is the best candidate to beat President Trump.
Because he can beat Donald Trump. He can beat Trump in a swing state like Florida. If Joe wins Florida in November, that's it, because of the Electoral College and the number of electors coming out of Florida. But he can also take Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, all of those swingiest of swing states. And that's what I think is on the minds of the voters through these primaries and caucuses.
Republicans did well in Florida in 2018 and 2016. I mean, you think that Joe Biden or any other candidate, Democratic candidate, will do well there this year?
I think so, because other than if you're a politico involved in this milieu, you are concerned as a citizen that the country's going in the wrong direction. They don't like this hyper-partisanship. They don't like this excessive ideological rigidity. They want people like normal human beings to come together and to build consensus in order to govern this country. And the one that's uniquely capable of doing that is Joe Biden.
How do you do that against a backdrop where you've had the House impeach a president and the Senate, led by Republicans, looking like it's on track to acquit the president?
Well, I think it's just that. What has been brought out in all of this procedure provided by the Constitution, that we see all of the mistakes and the transgressions of the incumbent president. And I think that's why you're seeing that you ask the question, is the country on the right track or wrong track? And a significant majority say it's on the wrong track, and they want America to get back on the right track.
I want to ask you about your own perspective as you look now to your former colleagues in the Senate. What is your sense of how this impeachment trial has played out?
I have agonized for some. Susan Collins is a good friend. Mm-hmm. I bet you Susan was wishing 2 years ago she was deciding if she was going to run for governor. I bet she wishes that she had done that instead of the predicament that she finds herself. But then others that have twisted themselves into pretzels when they don't believe in what the president has done and what are the values that he represents. And I think they're tormented. These are Republican senators that are tormented, and yet they know the threats in the Republican Party if they dare to transgress on anything against what Trump wants.
Do you think that this has hurt, though, the impeachment trial, and specifically Republicans bringing up Joe Biden and his family? Do you think that's something that has hurt the former vice president?
I think it's only begun, but I think in a way what's happened thus far is it's actually helped Joe.
How so?
Because it has unified Democrats to see that Trump is attacking Joe because he doesn't want to run against Joe. And I think Democrats deep down know that, and I think that's going to inure to Joe's benefit in the course of the primaries. But it's not going to stop there. If Joe is the nominee, I can tell you it's going to get more and more vicious, but he's prepared for it. I talked to him about this last night.
And what did he say?
Oh, yeah, he's getting prepared. He knows it's coming.
So earlier you talked about Senator Marco Rubio. Well, Senator Rubio said that he would not vote to remove President Trump, even though the president's action did, quote, meet a standard of impeachment. He said he would not vote to remove him because, quote, doing so would inflict extraordinary and potentially irreparable damage to our already divided nation. What kind of precedent does that set for the Senate?
Well, it's not the decision that I would make. However, let me say that I have a soft spot in my heart for my former colleague, Marco Rubio. we demonstrated how a Democratic senator and a Republican senator could get along for all of those years. When it came to Florida, we worked together. And in the course, he has become a personal friend. And I think he's conflicted, just like I was telling you about Susan Collins.
Mm-hmm. How do Democrats and Republicans work together after impeachment?
Well, I think you've got to elect a new president, and you probably have to put in a new majority in the Senate in order to get us back on the new track of where the American people want us to go.
Turning back to Iowa, tell us about your role tonight. You're going to be trying to change some minds, I understand?
Well, I've been out making calls, knocking on doors, giving attaboys to the people that have been out there on the hustings. Tonight, I'll be in a caucus, and once they go through the 15% threshold, if a candidate doesn't get that, those delegates then become uncommitted. And so they need to go to somebody who's gotten over 15%. Well, that's when I'm going to step in and see if I can talk about my friend Joe and what he would do for this country, and see if he could get their vote in this caucus.
Former Florida Senator Bill Nelson. Senator, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.